people don't understand the true impact of Project Threshold. We're not just soldiers, we're scientists and historians. We've created a vanguard against entities and monsters from other worlds. Our mission? Protect the innocent. Stop interdimensional threats at any cost. By joining, you're serving a higher purpose. Protect humanity from darkness. Are you ready to step up? ProjectThreshold.com.
With infinite complacence, people went to and fro the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this edition of Into the Fray, I welcome Isaac on with me, and he is one of the creators and hosts, along with his wife Megan, of the Hidden in the Shadows podcast, and he got in touch after I put a plea video out on Instagram, and he said, hey, I have an encounter for you, an experience for you, if you'd like to hear it, and of course I said yes. So Isaac, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, no problem.
So, I know absolutely nothing about your story, your encounter, your experience, which, as I briefly mentioned before we officially started, I love. That is my absolutely favorite thing. But before we get to that, I would like to know, of course, a little bit about you and your wife's podcast, Hidden in the Shadows. When did it start? What's the format? What kinds of things do you guys cover?
Well, Hidden in the Shadows was born out of the pandemic, like a lot of podcasts were. But after everything was back to relatively normality, we still continued to stay on. And I think it was around in 2020 when we started another podcast called Not Your Average Conversation, which I was beginning to listen to podcasts a lot at that time. And me and my wife's conversations, like right before we go to sleep, were always weird and unique. And I thought, this would be pretty cool to share out with the world. So bought some basic podcast equipment and started recording. And Megan wanted to do editing, so she got with that. But we noticed that the episodes that we did on the paranormal were the most listened to versus anything else we talked about. So we decided to scrap everything else, focusing strictly on the paranormal, and that became our main focus, and we became Hidden in the Shadows. And because between me and my wife, excuse me, we have enough experiences, paranormal experiences specifically, to fill up a couple of novels. From the haunted ranch I lived on when I was a kid, from her being a very talented psychic medium and being haunted her entire life, we had enough experiences to basically the first, I would say, months of the podcast was just us talking about them. And I always tell people that we have experience with most things we talk about, but not everything we talk about. And that became our main thing. Now, majority of the podcast is around the paranormal, the supernatural. Though we do talk about aliens, we do talk about cryptids and a little bit of conspiracy theories, but it's just mainly focused on the paranormal because that's where our life is. And we became paranormal investigators through the podcast. And that's it. Basically, it took off from there, and we've been doing it for 5 years now.
Well, congrats on that. It's a labor of love. I know how that goes. And also the 5 years, it does go quickly, right? Like when you look back, you're like, holy crap, that's already 5 years of this.
Yeah, well, it's because you're always doing something. Like you're always looking forward to the next week, the next episode, the next interview. So you're always looking forward. So it always feels like it's, time's moving faster than it's supposed to be. But ever since September of that same year, things changed dramatically for me and the wife, because it wasn't even until October that year we became paranormal investigators, officially going out and doing investigations. But this is the part of the story that I always tell people that I can almost guarantee you've never heard about before. In September of 2020, my ability, which is yet to be 100% defined, came to me or awoke it in me, however you want to look at it. Essentially, it started in my hands. And what was happening is that I started getting this tingling sensation, kind of the same sensation you get when your hand falls asleep, starting in the center of my palm and spreading out through my fingertips. and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I remember I reached out one time and I could feel it, and with my left hand. And my wife, of course, being very talented psychic medium she is, knew there was a spirit there. She was, "Oh, it's something over. You can feel it." Like, yeah, I could feel it. So then I figured out, oh, this is like a natural EMF detector. Like I can feel the energy of spirits around me. And then, of course, through time and learning to differentiate which hand means what. So I figured out that my left hand, when it charges, I call that sensation of tingling or whatever, I call it charging. When my left hand charges, it's something on the positive spectrum, a spirit, a human. But when my right hand charges, something dark, something evil, something the negative side of the spectrum of the paranormal. But that was the early stage of it. It was just feeling around. Then it evolved to me actually pulling that energy into myself, like grabbing it and causing a vacuum with my hand. And that energy would filter into me. And then when it would leave, it felt like a chill running up my spine, and out of a breath, like that it would leave. But that action of pulling and filtering and releasing started taking a toll on me, and actually started aging the right side of my face. My hair on my head and my beard started turning prematurely gray. So she's like, "You got to figure out a new way to do this." It's like, this is taking a toll. And at the time of the paranormal team we were part of, one of the guys named Mike, he became my mentor. Granted, he didn't know anything about my ability, had no idea this could even exist or any of these such scenarios, but he helped me in the guidance of becoming more on the spiritual side, learning to meditate, looking to look through my third eye, getting in contact with my spirit guides, that kind of side of the stuff, because he is a well-seasoned medium, but also with the idea of the spiritual world. So he kind of helped me in that sense. But he had a vision of the King Solomon symbol on King Solomon's ring. He didn't know what it was. He just drew that symbol, posted it in a group chat, said, "Has anyone seen this before?" And also at the time, we had a Jewish member part of the team, and he instantly recognized it as King Solomon's symbol. And I remember the stories about King Solomon told in the three Abrahamic faiths, all saying the same story. Even though Islam says 70 jinn, Judaism and Christianity say 70 demons that King Solomon imprisoned in his ring that he used to build his temple using Semitic magic. So with that in mind, I was like, well, let me try. If the only guy in history was able to do what I'm kind of doing now, let me see if I can use that. So I bought a King Solomon replica ring, nothing special, just steel and silver. And I bought enough for my pinky, and I did a pull. I grabbed the energy, and then I said, "Into the ring," and the energy was gone. It didn't filter. I mean, it didn't feel like it usually did. It's like, where did it go? Just kept doing that over and over again. Oh, and just to be clear, I only only ever pull negative energy. I don't pull, positive energy or people, stuff like that. It feels cruel to do so. But negative energy, no, I show no quarter to them. But I kept doing that pulling and putting that energy into the ring over and over again, to a point where my wife started hearing screaming and yelling and swearing coming from the ring. And she was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I basically explained what was doing it. And so she channeled into the ring to see what was going on. And to her, it looked like a giant prison cell with all these like shadowy dementor things flying around and hitting the walls, unable to leave. And it essentially is a prison, because every dark entity that I've come across, that I've pulled and put into that ring, has been unable to leave. Nothing has been able to escape. Which, funny enough, gave it its name, because I was asked one time, "Does the ring have a name?" And at the time, I was like, "No," I just kept calling the ring. But after I thought about it a little bit, I decided to call it Sienda Fergo, which is Latin for no escape, because nothing ever leaves that thing when I put something in there. But what's interesting about the ring itself is that you would think by the practice what I'm doing is creating a haunted object, but the ring itself does not influence people around us. As haunted objects, as we know them, influence people around. Wherever they're around, they can cause hauntings, nightmares, stuff like that. You just have one demon attached to a doll, like Annabelle, for example. Everything around it starts getting tormented. But at last rapport, at last count, I think I have 176 confirmed demons in that ring. Just one alone should cause this house to be insane, but yet we experience nothing. Everyone in here is fine. You would never know it was in here. So if it's not a haunted object, then what is it? My best guess is that it acts like access point to another dimension, another world, a pocket dimension, you could say, where all these things can be housed but can never leave. But yeah, and that 176 count demon thing, you probably like, what? Just to be, not to sound egotistical or cocky at all, just a matter of fact, everything that I've come across, every entity that I pulled has been unable to stop me. Not one, granted, a lot of them put up a fight, and a lot of them cause me physical pain, but it all ends the same way with every single thing I've taken. But learning to look through my third eye, I figured out that it wasn't essentially a vacuum that I was creating. There were strings of energy leaving my fingertips and firing out and wrapping around the entity like a boa constrictor, reeling and condensing the energy in that about the size of a ball in my hand. Therefore, that's the energy I send to the ring. And this practice of the pulling and investigating, I have, like I said, in prison about 176 of them, along with a laundry list of other dark entities that I've taken as well. And I have lost count of how many dark human entities I've come across that are in that ring as well. So if it wasn't a haunted object, it'd be considered the most haunted object in the world, but it's not. So can't hold that title above my head. But yeah, it was strings of energy that I was pulling in. And then, of course, this attention, me able to do this, got us attention on the podcast with people asking for help, to see if I could help them. And the whole reason they even asked for the help, because I informed everyone all through the podcast that I figured out how to reach through a phone. Essentially, if we're FaceTiming or Instagram message, or even like how we're doing right now, if I can physically see in real time where you are and where I am, I can send these strings through the phone from where I am to where you are, regardless of the distance, and pull whatever's there from where you are to where I am and shove it in the ring. Essentially, it's like fourth dimensional space, or folding it, essentially. If my phone is here and your phone is across the nation, but when I pull, they're back to back and I'm reaching through and grabbing what's there, which has allowed me to do 57 home cases in the last 4 years. And those home cases have been across the world. I've helped people in Australia, China, India, Ireland, England, Portugal, the Philippines, Hawaii, all across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. I have helped people with demonic oppression, with things in their homes, you name it, I've helped people with. And that has been essentially my purpose for the last 4 years. I went from nothing, a no one, with no abilities, nothing whatsoever. I'm not a psychic, not a medium, or anything of the sense. And now have become the most dangerous person in the world for a dark entity, because I don't have to do spells. I don't have to do prayers. I don't have to use I don't have to use anything. I just have to be in the room with it, either physically or someone has a phone or camera, and it's done. It's over with. And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I have ever heard anything like this before. Okay, so I do have questions. I was jotting them down, if you do not mind. Okay.
No.
So, you know the old adage that to have any kind of a power over a demon, normally you need to know its name. Do you need to know or find out the demon's name before you pull it into the ring?
No.
Yeah, that is quite helpful, because I know that you know that. We've heard that a lot, right? Like that's the old adage about the D word. You need to learn their names a lot of the times. Okay, so if you got another ring, do you think that you could do the exact same thing? Start filling that one up too?
It doesn't get full. Someone asked me that one time, like, can the ring ever get full? I was like, no. This is probably gonna add more questions to your list, but so my ability keeps evolving. It seems every time I met with a challenge, it evolves to meet that challenge and exceeds past it every single time. But one of the interesting things that I was able to do is that if I were in the beginning, I would have to take your right hand, I would hold it, and I could see into your mind forest, which the mind forest is the subconscious part of your mind where all your darkness dwells, your trauma, your hatred, everything that you've consciously or subconsciously buried in your mind is there in the mind forest. And everybody's mind forest is different, from the time of day, from the foliage, from the trees. I've seen countless mind forests. Actually, I've done more mind forest clearings than actually done investigations. So A lot of people just call me up, say, "Hey, can you clear my mind force?" Right, and I'll pull it and stuff like that. So I would have to take your right hand, hold it, and I could see into your mind force, and then I could pull the negative energy out of your mind force through your hand, and then put it in the ring. But I don't have to do it anymore because, like, first now I can reach the phone, and I can just send my tendrils into your head, and then pull the energy out. But when I figured out that I could do that, when I pulled the negative energy out of your head or your mind force, your main spirit guide came forward, and not your only spirit guide, your main spirit guide. Like if someone would do this to me, they'd be met with an Aztec Jaguar warrior named Azul, but that's my main spirit guide. But for other people, I have talked to a kaleidoscope of different spirit guides, from gunslingers, from Vikings, from knights, from doctors, from dancers, from ballerinas, from a skater kid who died in the 2000s, an actual Samoan islander from the actual Isle of Samoa. Just you name it. It's like everyone and everyone has something specifically different. And the only thing I ever figure out by all this information I've gathered is that if you have a fighter or warrior for a spirit guide, you're going to be met with a lot of conflict in your life. But that's the only thing I've ever been able to figure out. Paranormal investigators I've talked to have warriors and fighters for spirit guides. So I guess going into battle to supernatural, you kind of need that. But that ability of seeing mind force allowed me to go into the ring and see what it looks like in there. And what it looks like in there is if you can imagine a forest after a nuclear blast. All the trees are black and burnt. The sky is overcast. The ground is covered in dirt, mud, and ash. And everything in there, all the entities are different size shadow figures. Some have horns, some don't. They're all screaming and yelling, just kind of pissed off, essentially, that they're there. But yeah, inside there, the world looks endless. Like, regardless of how much, because I've already put well enough stuff in there. And that's just a demon count. Like I said, I've lost count of how many human entities I put in there. And it does never seem to be full. Like, it always, I can add more. And every time I go in there, like my wife, she'll drop stuff off in there because her remote viewing ability allows her to do that. And I would have to look for it sometimes because, like, where is it? And I have to, like, go around and, like, kind of like, oh, there it is. Like, it's way off, like, miles away and stuff like that. Like, the ring doesn't seem like a place to fill up. But the head scratcher of a question that I thought about a while ago is that, could I have done this with any object? Did it have to be King Solomon ring? Is it the symbol on the ring that's imprisoning them, or is it me? Could I, like I said, could I have done this with anything? Did it have to be the ring? I don't know. And I'm nowhere am I willing to try again, because I don't want to try and put something in another object and it not be stuck there. Because maybe I was always meant to use the King Solomon ring. Maybe that was always my calling. I never look at something as coincidence, or sorry, I never look at something as just random. Everything I've always encountered in my life always seemed to happen for a reason. At least I'm following a path, and things are putting my path to give me, okay, you need to try this. And every time I fight against that instinct or that gut feeling, I always end up messing up or going down the wrong path. So that was a strong pull for me to use the King Solomon ring. But yeah, to answer that question, I don't need to put another one in, or nor do I feel like I need to build another kind of this device.
So, and you don't have to, if you don't want to share every detail of this, but just in general, what's the process of pulling a demon or an evil human spirit into this ring?
I just have to feel it. Like, my right hand will charge. I'll get a good feel of where it is. In the millisecond, I feel it the heaviest when I'm reaching around. My hand flexes and it grips, and then I have it. Like, the tendrils, faster than bullets. Like, they fire out, wrap around the entity, and I pull them in. And it's a physical thing. Like, I'm physically using my arm and my hand, and I can physically feel it. Psychic mediums or light workers, they always feel like they're pushing energy out of themselves, or they're remote viewing to location. No, I am physically doing this. And I have it in my hand, and of course I shove it in the ring, which lasts about 3 to 4 seconds from grab, pull in, into the ring. I never counted the actual time, but it doesn't feel longer than about 5 seconds. But essentially the process. But I can't see them or hear them pre the ring. Once they're in the ring, then I can talk to them. Then I can interrogate them. Then I can get the answers of why they were oppressing said person. Why were they around said person? Why were you falling? Why you were here? All those questions I can ask after they're in the ring. Because I noticed once they're in the ring, they have no more power. They can't attack. They can't do anything. They're powerless in there. And same for human entities. The strength of what I grab and how hard I have to squeeze depends on the entity. I notice that demons are a little harder. It's like almost like feels like sand in my hand, versus say a human entity or a lower level demon. It's almost like smoke, right? It's very vapory. So human entities, yeah, it's easy. It doesn't cause me any pain. But the higher the rank of the demon, the harder it is to take down. Because I've taken down some top guys in the Lesser Keys of Solomon, or I forgot the actual Latin terminology. I studied demonology for a while now. I have read the Lesser Keys of Solomon. I've gone through a lot of different books on the occult, all trying to learn as much as I can when I joined this world. So I educated myself the best I can with everything that's out there.
So as you're, especially these demons, well, I guess for both, even the human spirits, as you are grabbing them and pulling them into this ring, are they trying to convince you to let them go?
Once they're in the ring, yes. While I'm pulling them, no. Like I said, I can't hear them any better than any regular person can.
Okay.
I can just like feel around and stuff like that. They beg, they offer, they bargain, they threaten, but no, I have no sympathy or empathy for any of them. Demons specifically, strong hatred for them I have, which makes me perfect for this work. But the reason being behind that is because when my son was no more than 3 months old, we set him down in one of our bedrooms, I think her grandmother's bed, and he was swaddled up in his little blanket, and we put him in the middle of the bed. Because believe me, my wife, first kid, she was worried about, is he safe? Is he gonna be fine? It's like, hey, he's gonna be fine. Like I was literally downplaying, hey, he's gonna be fine. He's in the middle of the bed. He's not gonna go anywhere. And panic as she is, she put pillows all around just to walk less than 3 feet into the hall so we could talk about something while he tries to go to sleep. We were in the hall no more than about 15 seconds or so, and we hear a thud. And we're like, what? And she runs in there, and now our son is face down on the ground on the upper side of the bed, as if somebody pulled him off the bed and dropped him on the floor. Megan said after she came to calm down from the situation, she said when she entered the room, she saw a black mass standing in the corner that felt immense amount of evil coming from it. Of course, we all know what that kind of entity would be. So this is why I hunt them, in a sense, is because if something can do that to a child that's been alive no more than 3 months because it wanted to, or for whatever reason, I give them no quarter. I do not. And another thing too, everything that I put in that ring has never come out. I've never released anything. I don't have the want to do so.
So, okay, and you have to forgive, I'm sometimes big on hypothetical questions.
Yeah.
And this might be a very silly question. I don't know. But let's say, I don't know, someone is listening to this and they're a normie. They're just into podcasts. I mean, I even sometimes consider myself a normie in a way because I don't have a whole lot of paranormal experiences. I have just enough that of course, I know that stuff's out there and I love doing this. But what if a normie, essentially a normie being someone that doesn't have really any paranormal skills or not psychic or sensitive? That's definitely me. What if a normie got a hold of this ring and went, you know what? I'm going to try to get even just one of these bad dudes out of here because I just think it would be cool. Like, I just think it'd be great. Do you think that would be something that could be possible?
There was a psychic medium I talked to one time, and she was convinced that I was using some kind of magic to do this. And I basically explained to her, no, I haven't even attempted to even try to use magic or any of the essence. My wife is a small practitioner of white magic, mostly to protect us, this house, each other, and stuff like that from everything we pick fights with. But it doesn't act like a haunted object. So that's clue number one. That's impossible. And it works only with energy. My ability is essentially releasing energy from myself to grab the entity, pull the energy in, and then force it into the ring. And like I said, the ring acts like an access point. So you would have to be a very powerful remote viewer to even go in the ring. And that's another thing too. I very, very much so warn. I would try to forbid it as much as I can, but I know when that was gonna do. People gonna do what they want. But I would like highly recommend never go in there, ever. I put a lot of dangerous entities in there, and they are pissed off. Not saying they're entirely powerless, but if they wanted to keep you there, I wouldn't know about it until I go back in the ring, and I check it maybe once a week if I'm not doing anything. And of course, if I have cases or I'm helping people out, of course I'll look in there. But there was a kid I met one time who was, I called him a traveler. There's a kid from India who I helped out. He had jinns around him that I took care of. By the way, I think I have 5 jinns in that ring, which technically classifies as demons, but I don't know. But I called him a traveler because in his dreams or moments of meditation, he can go a lot more places than, say, the average remote viewer can. And he was curious one time, and he went into my ring, and he said the gravity in the ring was immense. It's like he couldn't walk. He felt like he was being pushed down on his shoulders by the force of gravity just inside there. And literally he could only stand to be in there for a couple of seconds before the weight of essentially the gravity was pushing him down into the ground, that he was in there for a second, and he had enough time for him to look around for a little bit, and he basically got out of there. And he told me, he's like, yeah, never allow me to do that again, because I'm he said, I've never felt that before. He said he's been to a lot of places, but he's never felt that before. So that's why I would advise people who are not, at least someone that on our working with, to go in there. So far, my wife is the only person I know who can remote view in without any kind of problems. But then again, she's my twin flame, my other half. So if I'm this strong with this ability, of course, she's just as. But no, I don't think if even the most dark magic practitioner, they grab the ring by any means whatsoever, they'll never able to open it, because it's singular to me.
Now, do you have to be holding the ring or wearing the ring to execute this process?
No, I've actually done it miles away. If I have the energy and I force it, like I'm shooting it with my hand in the direction of where the ring is, then it takes time and travels there and goes in. And I checked it. Like, I've been at the store one time walking up to Target, funny enough, and I pulled something that was standing right in front of the building. And I sent it to the rings. I didn't have it on me at the time. And I went back and checked what it was, and it was a dark, lower level demon. And I asked what it was even doing out there. It said, looking for meat, was its reply. So, yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. Sometimes you can encounter very dark things. I was in front of a Target. But no, the distance, if I wear it for too long on my pinky, the joint between my, where the finger goes into the hand, feels like I really need to pop it. Like it's aching the longer I wear it. So it does cause me physical pain just to wear it on my finger. So most of the time I carry it in my pocket. When we do investigations, I'll wear it, but most of the time it's in my pocket, so I can just grab and send to the ring.
So if you lost this ring, would it not really be that big of a deal? Because then you could probably just do this again with another ring, right? And no one can really bust into this thing.
I don't want to give someone an attempt to try it.
Yeah.
So, but I actually did drop it one time in my neighbor's yard. I was clearing out a lot of her overgrown bushes and trees and grass, and I guess it fell out of my pocket. And I was like, where the heck is it? Of course, Megan, talented remote viewer she is, found it. She looked for it, and it basically, what she saw in her mind was a backyard, and she saw the ring emitting like a bright white light. She knew exactly where it was, walked right over to it, moved some leaves out of the way, picked it up, and it's right there. So it can't get lost at this point. But then again, now I make sure I always have it on me just in cases. It is probably something that's going to be passed down through my children. Supposedly, we were told this by other psychic mediums, friends of ours. Even Megan has kind of seen it, or she feels like it's going to be true. My not yet born daughter is going to take my place. She is technically going to be the next me, the next shadow walker, in order to do this. And supposedly she's going to be stronger than I am. So I already explained the extent of what I can do. Imagine me stronger than that. That's what she's going to be doing. So it would be her responsibility in the future to continue this kind of fight with dark entities and keep it safe, essentially.
Now, if you guys are, going to bed or going somewhere that you don't want to take the ring, do you keep it under lock and key? Does it go in a cabinet with salt or something? Or are you guys keeping it somewhere special?
I built a little box. Inside the box, I glued an Odin's compass, like a little medallion, almost like a coin. I glued it to the roof of the box. I drew runes on the box. Inside the box, I have a couple of obsidian pieces along with a hematite beaded bracelet, and I set the ring inside that and I close it. That's where it essentially rests. Apparently it works because someone else who we have been, I'll say, training, helping her with her abilities, getting stronger. She's able to remote view and drop things off in the ring, but she can't spend more than a couple seconds there before it starts physically hurting her. Like, she's remote viewing in, but she can't stay there very long. But long enough that she can remote view, grab something from somewhere, and then drop it off in the ring and then disappear real fast.
How long can you stay inside the ring like that?
I think the longest I spent in there, it doesn't bother me. But I think the longest I spent in there was about maybe an hour, because I was rearranging things and building things better in there. And it's weird, that world is almost like it bends to my will. Like, if I need like a prison or a foundation or even to pull up a new tree or anything like that, it comes to my command. It's I don't know, it's strange. It's like that world that belongs to me.
I'm imagining that scene after, and forgive me, I do this also. I do a lot of movie references, but hey, it's a good visual when people see movies, right? So I'm imagining the scene from Constantine after he stares at the cat and he goes down to hell. He's with the demons, and it's like all smoky and it's real kind of shitty down there, right? There's all these nasties. Now, he's not doing what you just said that you were doing. It's not exact, but I'm just like imagining this world where there's just all these things crawling around and you're just trying to make it to where you're making sure they're not going anywhere and they're not having a good time down there. Is that kind of sort of along those lines?
It's not so fiery, it's more smoky. Like, imagine a world of black and white and gray. Like, there's only colors that are in there. Yeah, I've never seen color. The only thing that's any kind of lighter color is the stone or marble tablet, or kind of big old giant, I would say it's about 10 feet by 5 feet slab. That's right when I enter the ring, there's this little marble slab that I put there because everything that I shove into the ring lands at the same spot every single time. So, for a scare tactic for everything that goes in there, I carved into that slab, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And if you know anything about that phrase, that is the phrase that's supposedly written above the gates of hell. So, everything that goes into that ring, the second they're in there, they land and they're going, "Where am I?" They look down and they read that. And they are immensely terrified, and which makes interrogating information out of them a lot easier. They're more easy to give it up. Why do they have their name, all that stuff. But yeah, it's more smoke. Like, it smells like ash. Like, it smells like someone like put out a campfire, and that's what you kind of smell, like that burning wood or burning just everything, kind of smoke smell.
I mean, do you feel like if you're having a conversation with a demon, whether it's one of the big boys or one of the lessers, that they're ever going to tell you the truth?
That's why I get it out of them. I don't allow them to lie, and I put them through enough pain that they want to tell me. Granted, they don't share much information, but they do share pieces, and I've learned a lot, at least about the why they do it and what they are. Entities born of darkness and evil. That's what they are. And one thing I learned too is that what they look like. And granted, I've talked to 170 of them, but the higher the rank, the more designs they have in their flesh. It's almost like it's carved or branded in their skin. And I noticed that, like, if they're guys, like, there's top tier guys, they have more. Lower tier guys, they don't have any, or they barely have. It's like almost like tattoos. Like, I guess the higher you are rank in a gang, the more tattoos you have. And that kind of works the same. But it's almost like carving, like branded or carving into their flesh. And the flesh is like black and, like, I don't know, weird texture, not oil, but it looks sticky if you would touched it. And some have horns, some don't. Some look like animals, some look like regular humans. and they don't sound like your death metal screamer or anything like that. Because I'm a big fan of death metal and deathcore and like very heavy metal, but I've never talked to any of them who sound like that. Some actually sound like if wood or rocks or the wind or like elements of this earth could talk. It's like if they're speaking and they have that an accent of nature behind them. It's very strange. It's a hard thing to describe. And of course, sound like whispers. Some have like a very deeper voice. Some try to intimidate, but that's essentially what they look like and what they sound like. And yeah, I've been threatened consistently. Someone say, "I'm going to kill your children," blah 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 blah, and one swift swipe of my tendrils to one of their legs, and it's gone. So it's these tendrils of mine have limitless power in that ring. Hence why I'm allowed to get information out of them. But the reason behind why they oppress people is it becomes common is because they're addicted to our negative emotions. Our negative emotions are like a drug to them. And the more torment they put us through, the more depression, the more anger, the more sadness, all our negative emotions, the more they can get out of us, the more the addiction high you give them. And they love it. And that's why they get so violent to those people who try to tear them away from their addiction. And they put up a fight. It's, anybody who ever talked about an exorcism or been in the house where they try to shove a demon out, things get very, essentially they start a fight. So, and they do not want to be torn away. But I get rid of them so fast, they didn't have a chance to react. My total time from talking to someone through the phone like we're talking now, to pulling their home, to clearing out their mind forest is 30 minutes. 30 minutes it takes me to clear out your home of everything and your mind forest, and you're set. And most people follow a question on this, probably I don't know if you've thought about it yet, but I'll answer it before you even get a chance to. Most people have asked, what does he charge for this kind of service? He's got to charge a good amount of money for this. He does it faster and he does it more efficient than anyone else. I charge nothing. Nothing. I ask for nothing. I never have. I never will. I feel it morally wrong to do so, to charge someone for the ability of mind that I have, especially people who are suffering. My only content in doing this is to ensure that those things can't harm anyone ever again, that no one should have my moment of fear of their child being harmed or damaged or even themselves.
What if there is more than one entity to quote unquote dispose of or bind? Can you do more than one at once, or is that just one after the other?
They always come in threes. There's a master and there's two servants. Sometimes it's a high rank demon with two lower level demons. Sometimes it's a demon with a human and some other kind of entity, but it's always three. Always three. Occasionally, randomly, sometimes it'll be four, but I've only encountered 3 cases like that. There's 4 of them. But majority of the time, it's always 3. And they don't always stand together. I sometimes have to hunt. Like I have the person, turn the camera around, walk me around the house POV wise, and I tell them, hey, look up, look right, look left, look down, stop, turn this way. And they're basically my surrogate, essentially, where they are, and I pull from wherever they are. But one time, in an investigation, I grabbed and I reached and I pulled 3 demons at once. And one of those guys was a top tier dude. And my entire forearm and bicep felt like I couldn't grip my hand. Like I lost all strength in my hand. Like it came limp. I could hardly grab anything. I couldn't even pick up my phone. It was like I lost all feeling for about maybe a couple of minutes, and it started coming back. But yeah, I don't try to do that every time. It's most of the time it's always one after another, and then the process is that. So, but like an investigation, it might last hours in a location. I mean, granted, at the end of the night, my arm is like sore. My hand is like I can't grip anything. But
well, what's the worst physical effect that you've had since starting this?
Well, the first ever pull I ever did, it felt like an electric bolt shot up my entire arm into my head. Like I didn't know what was going on, but I've never felt that ever since. But the only real physical pain I ever felt is getting pushed. One of these top ranked demons was sneaky enough to wait till I was distracted by trying to climb down a side of a hill that had a lot of like loose rocks, and I wasn't trying to fall over and injure myself. And it pushed me enough force that I fell forward and caught myself on the tree before I basically ran my head into it. And in the act of doing that, I tore my right tricep,
Mm.
which put me on commission, out of commission for about a couple of weeks. It wasn't fully torn off the bone; it just kind of tore in half, but enough that I couldn't use that arm for a good period of time. I could grab if something was close and it was weak enough, but I basically told Megan, like, you're on guard duty for the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
So
that's the injury that I ever encountered.
So is the process different for you at all if it's a demon versus an evil human spirit?
No, because like I said, I can guess what's there because Megan, of course, she tells me ahead of time. We do our home cases. I call Megan the jack of all trades when it comes to psychic mediumship abilities because it seems to be nothing she can't do. But her main focus, or most powerful, talented gift, is remote viewing. She can find anyone, anywhere, alive or dead. It doesn't matter. You tell her someone's name, she knows where they are. Or you tell her about her place, she finds it hard to fight herself to not remote view there. But she'll say someone asks us for help, she'll remote view to their home, she'll see what's going on, she'll give me like a roundabout, like what's there, how many, where to look, where they're dwelling, that kind of things. Is it a human? Are these dark demons? Are these what are these dark humans? Are these regular demons? What's going on? This one you might have to watch out for. She'll get that kind of information for me beforehand, and then I'll have the person walk around and say, "Hey, Megan was talking about the basement area. Can you show me that real quick?" And then we'll go down there and stuff like that. But I usually go by feeling, how strong the pull feels, how much of a charge it's giving me. But no, I don't know what it is until putting. I mean, I have a strong guess sometimes, like, ooh, that was really strong. That can't be a regular human. It has to be something more intense. And sometimes it's not a demon. Sometimes it's something entirely different. Here's something that'll blow your socks off if you're wearing any. I have taken down a hat man. Let that sink in. One of them came here, and it was extremely strong. It was intense that I thought it was a demon. Just put it in the ring. Went into the ring, saw it was a hat man. I was like, holy crap. And one thing I learned doing this is that sometimes entities put on a disguise, some kind of camouflage, and I can burn it away to see what they truly are. And what the hat man truly is something no one even guessed at. They are a humanoid shadow figure, but their skin, their outer shell, looks like cracked glass, like obsidian black, like glass. Like it's like cracked in all different pieces and their entire body. It looks like that. No human face, no mouth, no eyes, no lips. Just a shadow figure, like it was made of all like black obsidian, cracked in all different places.
So what kinds of things, how much did you talk to the Hat Man about? Did you ask him any questions? Because a lot of people see the Hat Man.
He wasn't talkative. And I tried to go into his mind forest because I practiced doing other entities' mind forests, even if it has one. Demons are just the most vile things you can think of. Like I've seen some pretty bad horror films, and their minds are far worse. Like the Serbian film on 100. But no, his mind was just darkness, no thought, no shadow. And granted, on our podcast, we've done an episode on the Hat Man. And Megan's actually had her own encounter with the Hat Man before as well. And when she was a child. It was a long time ago. But my best theory is that I think they're scouts. I almost think like they're hired guns for whatever is sending them to go check somebody out. Like, I need you to go look at this person. I need you to go look at that person. And whoever sends them is the intention of you feel behind it. But one of them came here not to observe, but to pick a fight. Because amongst Megan's many talents in practicing white witchcraft, she learned how to put a shield around this house, strong enough that nothing has been able to get through it. Nothing. And to her, it sounds like someone beating on bulletproof glass when they are around the shield. They hit it or they come near it. And it basically ran it at us like it was trying to get to the home, and then boom, it hits that shield, and she knew something was. It was like someone's over there on that side of the house. So I reached over there, pulled it through the shield, and then of course put it in the ring. And I was like, "Holy crap, the Hat Man!" Like, I didn't think I would ever get one. Like, I was surprised. Like, I didn't even think these guys could get gotten, however you want to say it. Like, I've taken out demons, different kinds of regular spirits that exist out there, but yeah, a hat man, what the hell? I didn't even think it was possible. But yeah, not talkative, not explaining anything, regardless of what I did to it, it just silence.
Now, what if Megan, per se, you had an appointment and she usually does this very helpful because she's talented pre-game situation and remote views and sees what's doing before you actually go in and do your side of things. Have you ever done your side of things without her side of things?
Sometimes it makes things take longer because I have to guess what's going on. I've had people call me, like, literally, I'm sitting there watching a TV and I get an Instagram call, like, what's going on? I had to literally have a friend do that to me one time. He was an urban explorer and he was at some kind of weird convention of different urban explorers. And he's like, Isaac, I need your help right now. And he's like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on, man? He says that he was in an Airbnb with some other urban explorers and he never met this guy before. But one of his friends, this was her boyfriend. And he said at dinner he was acting really weird. Like all of a sudden he would go at it, like just stare at blank face and say, "This body is mine. You can't do nothing to stop me." And he'll snap out of it and come back and be like, "What the fuck are you talking to me? You on drugs or something?" And when they got back to the house, all of a sudden he started throwing up, which they didn't understand because he didn't really eat that much. And everything they ate, everything he ate, they ate too, and they felt fine. So like, why is he? And he said he felt like someone was stabbing him in his stomach. Like he didn't understand. And then he would switch out of that talking about how he's going to kill everyone, and like everyone's like freaking out. And then of course my friend, he goes by the keeper. He was the one that said, I think he might be possessed. So I'm gonna call my friend. And he called me and I had Megan remote view in, and she saw what was happening to him. This yellowish demon had its hand in his stomach twisting around. And she's like, oh my God, you need to go there now. So I went there, pulled everything, pulled it off of him, took care of everything. And yeah, he was fine the next day. He was like, oh, I guess I must have been, something wrong with my stomach or something. Like it never happened. Everyone was freaking out, like what was going on. And then the next day it was fine. And yeah, Keeps, he was like, I was like, thanks for that. Like, yeah, anytime. I literally mean that. But yeah, randomly, like someone would message me and Megan's not around. I can't ask her to remote view. So I was like, okay, I'll just go in there blind. A few cases I've done that. Like I said, it just makes it take longer. Like I have to, let's go over here. Let's check the mirrors. Let's check over there. Let's say, all right, pull the mind force. And then after I interrogate the entity, then I can figure out, okay, this is why it was after you. And make sure. And later on, I'll say I have Megan remote view into the house to make sure there's nothing left behind. And she's like, oh yeah, it's cleared out. And if there is any like lingering, she'll remote view and body bag it, is the term that we come up with. Essentially, she puts a positive bag of energy around an entity, like a body bag, carries it, teleports it from where it is to where the ring is, drops it off, and then of course gets out of there. And she's been able to take down some very, very powerful dark things. I'm surprised at some stuff she takes down. She's like on par, or if not, exceeding me with taking down things. But for her, it takes more of a mental toll on her than it does me physically. Like I can take down the same thing, my arm aches a little bit, but her, she gets like a migraine. So she only ever does that if I'm not available to do it.
So she can pull things into the ring as well. It just takes more of a toll.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see, right? Like once your daughter starts to be old enough to see what's doing there, that will be pretty fascinating.
Yeah, now I have to teach her everything. My son, who was already born, like what I talked about before, he's 8 now. And at 5 years old, I witnessed him keep a demon in its place. At 5 years old, he had his hands up like this, and he was in the den. This is before Megan put up the shield. And he was like, no, 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 no. Like had his hands up like this. And I was like, what the heck? And I felt around and I could feel something intensely like my right hand, and it couldn't move. Like I felt it move to the right, move to the left, like it was trying to get around him, but it couldn't get around him. And I was like, what? And that gave me the thought, oh, he's keeping it there. He's holding it there. And I reached out and I grabbed and I pulled it. But when I pulled it, as I was pulling it towards me, he turns around to see where it went, because he didn't know I was standing there. So he could see what he was holding there, and he turned around following where it went. And of course, I put it in the ring. So at 5 years old, my son's already showing abilities. And he is like almost a combination of me and my wife. But instead of pulling things, he's almost like pushing them away, like at some kind of force, keeping them at a distance, or not allowing them to get around. But yeah, we're going to, unlike most people in the paranormal who have their parents try to, say, oh, it's in your head, or you're crazy, or you're making stuff up, or it's just your imagination. No, no, no. We're going to encourage this, and we're going to help train him to get stronger with his ability, so he knows how to use it and be a very helpful tool in the future essence of the paranormal.
There's one whole family not to F with, right, Isaac? And as far as your ring goes, it's like one ring to bind them all, essentially. You were I love this chat. It's extremely unique. I had no idea what to expect, and in a million tries, I wouldn't have gotten this. So I absolutely love it. Okay, so before you go, of course, let everyone know where to get in touch with you for this work that you do, if you want to give that out. And then, of course, where to find you guys' podcast.
Before I get to that, there's one thing I always like to tell everyone, because this is part of the information I like to get out, so other people can, well, hey, find me, or I help me, or I help them. But this is how other people can help me. I have earned 6 names over my time of doing this, 6 titles or something. The Shadow Walker, like I mentioned first, that has been my social media handle, and that name was given to me by a woman in Australia who we interviewed one time, that her friend, who kind of did what I did, but she only pulled positive energy in, like humans, and how crossed them over to the other side. She never did anything with dark. But when she went to her shaman to figure out what was going on, she told her, oh, you're a psychopomp or a shadow walker. And hence why it's like, oh, you're a shadow walker. I was like, oh, okay. That name kind of stuck and became my title name. And then the second was kind of a joke by my mentor. We were looking up different legends out in history to what could this ability be of mine. And we came across a Native American deity called Earthmaker. And Mike laughed. He goes, why? He goes, if he's Earthmaker, wouldn't that make you Earthshaker? I'm like, what are you talking about? Because he said sometimes, because in the early stages, I put my hand to the earth and I would create like a giant net of energy and catch everything and pull it all up from the ground at one time. And he said when I did that, he felt the earth vibrate, essentially shake. And that's why he started calling me Earth Shaker. Now I don't need to touch the earth. I can just send them out and then create a big old net. The third was my first ever demonic oppression case. Me and my wife kind of abandoned Christianity behind because it wasn't giving us any answers, and nor were they really helping. So we started looking for other faiths around the world. And to be clear, I believe every god that's ever been worshipped or even thought of exists. And all who you choose to go to is who comes to you. But at the time, we started looking to the Nordic faith, and we started using runes, which still work for us. So we started working with the Nordic gods because they tend to have our back. So before this oppression case, demonic oppression case, she said, you think we should make an offering to Odin just to be safe? I was like, well, yeah, because we're going to battle technically. So I went to the backyard with nothing special, just some stones and I think a wolf wooden pendant buried in the ground that said, All Father, protect me in battle. And I heard clearly as I'm speaking to you, something in one of my ears say, Dranger. And I looked around, thought someone was with me at the same time, and I was like, what the heck's going on? Someone playing a joke with me? No, no one's back there. And I had to look up that word. What is that? Dranger. Dranger is apparently a Nordic word from Norway, Sweden, but the Vikingers would use as a compliment. It essentially means like badass or ultimate warrior. Like you're so-and-so's Dranger. Oh, dude, on the battlefield, you're a Dranger, right? So for the All-Father to call me Dranger is a high compliment. Hence why my third name became Odin's Dranger. The fourth is the closest description I can give to anyone about what I am. Like I said, not a psychic, not a medium, not any of that. So what am I? And Megan in her research found that apparently shamans in the Nordic, the Aztec, even the Haitian belief, in some Native American tribes, they had shamans who can imprison dark energies in their staffs. So I was like, oh, but they needed an immense amount of meditation and spells to do so when I can just reach out and grab it. So, but those shamans were known for war, hence my fourth name, the War Shaman. But yeah, that's the best way I can describe myself to anyone, is that I'm a shaman who was born to do this, not trained to do this. My abilities are natural to me. I didn't have to learn how to do this. I had to learn how to master it, but do it itself, no, it just came to me like a natural process. The fifth name is what they call me, what the dark entities and demons call me. They don't call me Isaac. They don't call me Shadow Walker. They call me Order Keeper. Yeah, a lot of the time I always hear that. What do you want, Order Keeper? Or you're the Order Keeper, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, Order Keeper. That's the fifth name. But the sixth name is the most important of all of them because it has the strongest clues to who I actually am. So I had to have surgery about 2 years ago over my belly button. I don't know if you've ever had surgery before, but I've never felt the sensation of falling asleep and waking up in the same second in hours that passed. But my mentor, Mike, he has had many stomach surgeries and surgeries over his lifetime because he had cancer and stuff like that. Granted, he's in remission now, he's fine. But he said when you're under anesthesia and you meditate, you can go anywhere. So I was like, oh, let me try that when I go under. When am I going to get an opportunity like this? But literally the night before my surgery, we get visited by the spirit of my grandfather. But not my grandfather from this lifetime. My grandfather from when I lived with the Cheyenne in the 1700s. And he told Megan to tell me when Isaac goes under tomorrow to go find him. So I was like, all right. So with that mindset, as I dissipate back into underneath the anesthesia and I wake up, I don't remember the entire 6 hours I was under. All I remember is sitting in front of a cave on natural outcropping of rock in front of a light blue flame fire between us, looking at an old Native American man and the whole get-up of that time period. And him point to me and say, you are Ash Wakanatanka, the Reaper of Souls. You are Ash Wakanatanka. And that is all I remember. And that name became my sixth name, Ash Wakanatanka. And what's interesting about that name is that when we investigate over here in in North Carolina on the East Coast, around the Croatoan National Forest, different places we've investigated, a lot of Native American spirits. They call me Ash Wakanatanka over the spirit box. We hear that. Ash Wakanatanka come through the spirit box. So Native American spirits here on the East Coast know a legend that's supposed to be associated with the Great Plains Native Americans. Not just that. I have an investigation friend of mine, or he has an investigation team up in Vancouver, Canada. And he was investigating an area that had a lot of Native American spirits there, or indigenous spirits of that area. And he asked them, hey guys, I got a friend in the States, he has a name, I want to know if you guys know it. He said, do you guys know the name Ash Wakanatanka? And they replied within an instant. He said, and it said, yes, he is king. That's all that came through. So Native American spirits or indigenous spirits in the Northwest know a legend is supposed to be associated with the Great Plains, that also the indigenous spirits over here on the East Coast all know the name Ash Wakanatanka. And I have tried for the last 4 years to get in touch with anyone of elder status amongst the Native American tribes. I don't care what tribe, just any of them. And silence from every email, from every message, from everyone I've ever talked to. Nothing. No follow-ups, no nothing. It's like silence. They don't want to talk to me or they don't want to talk to anyone. I don't know. But it's not without trying. But yeah, that name, Ash Wakanatanka, has the most clue to this entire story.
And your seventh name is not to be effed with, right? Like, bring it on.
I know. A friend of mine is like, you should go Demon Hunter. I'm like, that's a band, right? Sorry, take it.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, the other six are pretty damn cool. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, let everybody know where to find you and how to contact you. Make sure to get all that out there.
Yeah, so you can find us on socials at Hidden in the Shadows podcast on Instagram, Hidden in the Podcast 2 on TikTok. We do have a website called Hidden Shadows Paranormal. HiddenInTheShadows.com, which we combine the podcast and our paranormal team because Hidden Shadows Paranormal on Instagram as well. But we have the website HiddenShadows.com where we have links to every episode where you can find us and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're looking for help with anything, you need me to clear out your mind forest or you're dealing with a demon in your house, like I said, I don't charge anything. It only takes me 30 minutes. So I get it done pretty fast, faster than delivered pizza. But best way to message us is through Instagram or the email on the website. I think we have a Facebook as well, Hidden Shadows Podcast on Facebook. I don't ever check it. Megan handles that stuff. But yeah, the Instagram I think is the best source to get in contact with us because I check it consistently, or through the email, through Instagram or the website itself. Well, you can find. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
You can find the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on everything: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find podcasts. And I've only talked about my ability. I know I talk a lot about it, but I still have but tons more of information that I didn't get to share. But I have a series called the Shadow Walker series, Shadow Walker Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm up to 6 scattered throughout the 5 years I've been doing this. And you hear the evolution of my ability, where it started and where it was about a year ago, which I think I have enough stuff now to do probably Shadow Walker Part 7. But yeah, if you want to know about my ability, that was the series to listen to. Megan has her own. We talk about Megan's abilities, remote viewing. You hear more on that, or anything about the paranormal you want to hear about us talk about. It's on the podcast.
Well, Isaac, I really appreciate you getting in touch after seeing that video on Instagram, honestly. And thank you for the wonderful and very unique chat. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me on.